The invitation, the ivory invitation, sat on Nathaniel Rhodes's desk like a guillotine blade waiting to drop. His fingers trembled against the expensive cardstock as Rachel's elegant script blurred before his eyes. Rachel Thompson cordially invites you to celebrate her engagement to Jonathan Pierce, 42 years old, billions in assets, 3 continents under his control. None of it mattered when her name appeared on his phone screen. Nathaniel, darling, I was wondering when you'd call. Her voice slithered through the speaker, honey laced with arsenic. The Chicago skyline stretched behind him, cold and indifferent through the floor-to-ceiling windows. What game are you playing, Rachel? No games. Just sharing my happiness with old friends. Her pause was surgical. You'll come, won't you? I told everyone you'd be there with your latest conquest. You do have someone special these days, don't you? The silence stretched like a noose. That's what I thought, she continued, her laughter cutting deeper than any blade. Still the same Nathaniel, brilliant with numbers, hopeless with people. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll find some suitable arm candy by Saturday. You always were good at buying what you needed. The line went dead. 5 days. 5 days to prove he wasn't the broken man she'd left behind. That evening, suffocating in his penthouse prison, Nathaniel found himself walking through Grant Park. October air bit at his skin as autumn painted the world in dying colors. He had no destination, just a desperate need to escape himself. Then he heard it. A voice like aged whiskey and midnight confessions drifted through the evening air. Raw and beautiful and heartbreakingly real. Following the sound, he discovered a young woman sitting on a weathered park bench, acoustic guitar cradled in her arms like a lover. She wore a vintage leather jacket over faded jeans, dark hair cascading around sharp cheekbones. Her guitar case lay open at her feet, scattered with crumpled bills and loose change. The song she sang spoke directly to the hollow spaces in his chest, each note unlocking rooms in his heart he'd sealed shut years ago. When the last chord faded, she looked up and caught him staring. Her eyes were the color of warm amber, holding a weariness that suggested she'd learned not to trust the kindness of strangers. That was beautiful, Nathaniel said, stepping closer despite every instinct screaming at him to walk away. Thank you. Her voice carried caution like armor. Most people just drop $1 and keep walking. I'm not most people. She studied his expensive suit and polished shoes with the calculating gaze of someone who'd learned to read people for survival. Obviously. Let me guess. You're slumming it? Taking a walk through the park to feel connected to the common folk? Her directness hit him like a physical blow. Most people either fawned over his wealth or were intimidated by it. This woman seemed unimpressed by both. I was thinking, he said carefully, and your music made me stop thinking. First time that's happened in years. Something in his tone made her expression soften just slightly. The armor didn't disappear, but a crack appeared in its surface. Rough day? She asked. Rough life. The words escaped before he could stop them, raw and honest, in a way that terrified him. She gestured to the empty space beside her. Want to talk about it? I've got time, and you look like you could use a friend. When was the last time someone had offered him genuine companionship without wanting something in return? Nathaniel sat down, maintaining careful distance between them like a man afraid of catching fire. I'm Nathaniel Sophia. She set her guitar aside, giving him her full attention. It felt like standing naked under stage lights. So what's got Chicago's elite looking so miserable in my little corner of the world? How do you know I'm elite? Her smile transformed her entire face, turning sharp edges into something luminous and dangerous. Honey, your watch costs more than I make in 6 months. Plus, you've got that look. What look? The look of someone who has everything money can buy and nothing money can't. Her insight cut through him like a blade made of truth. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights begin to twinkle in the gathering darkness. Can I ask you something? Nathaniel said finally. Shoot. If someone offered you a lot of money to pretend to be something you're not for one evening, would you do it? Sophia turned to face him fully, her amber eyes searching his face with uncomfortable intensity. Depends on what I'd have to pretend to be and why they needed me to pretend. This was insane. He was a billionaire CEO about to spill his deepest humiliation to a woman he'd known for 20 minutes. But something about Sophia made him want to trust her with the truth. My ex-wife is getting married Saturday. She invited me to her engagement party, expecting me to show up alone so she can humiliate me in front of everyone we used to know. I need someone to come with me. Someone who can hold her own in a room full of sharks. You think I'm that someone? I think you're the only person I've met in years who seems genuinely unafraid of anything. Sophia laughed, but not unkindly. You don't know me very well. I'm afraid of lots of things. Mostly of becoming someone I'm not, just to please other people. I'm not asking you to become someone else. I'm asking you to be exactly who you are, just in a different setting. A fancy party full of rich people who will look down on me the second I open my mouth. A fancy party full of insecure people who will be threatened by your authenticity. She was quiet for a long moment, her fingers absently plucking at her guitar strings. The soft notes floated between them like questions waiting to be answered. What's in it for me? She asked finally. And don't say money. I mean, what's really in it for me? Nathaniel considered her question seriously. A chance to see a man who's forgotten how to be genuine try to remember what that looks like. And maybe the satisfaction of watching a room full of pretentious people realize that real class has nothing to do with bank accounts. You really hate these people, don't you? I hate what I become when I'm around them, including what I became when I was married to one of them. The admission hung in the air between them like a confession. Sophia picked up her guitar and strummed a soft, contemplative chord. I have 2 conditions. Name them. First, I get to be myself. I won't pretend to be some socialite or put on airs. If they don't like who I am, that's their problem. Agreed. What's the second condition? After this is over, win or lose, you have to promise me something. What? That you'll stop trying so hard to prove you're worthy of people who don't deserve you in the first place. Her words hit him like a physical blow, stripping away years of carefully constructed defenses. Deal, he said quietly. Sophia smiled and held out her hand. You've got yourself a fake girlfriend, Nathaniel. Just don't expect me to be fake about it. As they shook hands, something shifted inside him. Her skin was calloused from guitar strings, warm and real in a way that made his chest tighten. For the first time since Rachel had walked out of his life, he felt something that might have been hope. One more thing, Sophia said as she packed up her guitar. What should I call you at this fancy party? Nathaniel seems a bit formal for a girlfriend. My friends call me Nate. Do you have many friends? He considered the question seriously. Not really. Mostly business associates and people who want something from me. Well then, Sophia said, slinging her guitar case over her shoulder. Guess I'll be your first real friend in a while. Nice to meet you, Nate. She walked away into the night, her figure disappearing into the shadows like a beautiful ghost. Nathaniel remained on the bench, watching until she was gone completely. What had he just set in motion? And why did the thought of Saturday night suddenly fill him with anticipation instead of dread? The transformation 3 days later, Nathaniel stood outside a small apartment building in Logan Square, holding a garment bag and feeling more nervous than he had before his first billion-dollar acquisition. The building was old, but well-maintained. Its brick facade painted with colorful murals that spoke of artistic souls and creative spirits. When Sophia opened her door, his breath caught. She wore an oversized sweater and paint-stained jeans, her hair pulled back in a messy bun with tendrils escaping to frame her face. No makeup, no pretense, just raw, unfiltered beauty that made something in his chest ache. Let me guess, she said, eyeing the garment bag. You brought me a costume. I brought you options. You don't have to wear anything you don't want to. She stepped aside, letting him into her small apartment. The space was cramped but alive with personality. Canvases leaned against walls, some finished, most not. Her guitar sat propped in the corner like a faithful companion. Books overflowed from makeshift shelves, their spines cracked and loved. This is me, Sophia said, watching him take it all in. If you're having second thoughts, now's the time to bail. Not having second thoughts. Liar. But she smiled when she said it. Nathaniel unzipped the garment bag, revealing 3 dresses. One black and classic. One emerald green and daring. One deep burgundy that seemed to shimmer in the afternoon light. Sophia approached them cautiously, her fingers ghosting over the fabric. These are beautiful. They must have cost a fortune. Money isn't real to me anymore. It's just numbers on a screen. He paused, searching for the right words. But this, what you're doing for me, that's real. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and he saw something shift in those amber eyes. Understanding, maybe, or pity. He couldn't tell which scared him more. The green one, she said finally. If I'm going to walk into the lion's den, I might as well look like I belong there. While she changed, Nathaniel wandered her apartment, studying the fragments of her life scattered across every surface. A framed photo of a young Sophia with an older woman, both laughing. Medical bills stacked on the kitchen counter, some marked with red final notice stamps. A journal filled with song lyrics, crossed out and rewritten 100 times. You're being nosy, Sophia called from behind the bathroom door. I'm being curious. There's a difference. Is there? The bathroom door opened and Nathaniel forgot how to breathe. The emerald dress hugged her curves like it had been designed specifically for her body. It was elegant but not ostentatious, sophisticated but still undeniably Sophia. Her dark hair cascaded over bare shoulders, and she'd applied just enough makeup to enhance her natural features without hiding them. Well? She asked, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. Will I pass inspection? You're stunning. Don't sound so surprised, but her cheeks flushed with pleasure. I'm not surprised. I'm terrified. It made her pause. Of what? That you're going to walk into that party and realize you're better than all of them? Better than me? And you'll leave before I'm ready to let you go. The honesty of his words hung between them like a live wire, crackling with electricity neither of them knew how to handle. Sophia crossed the room slowly, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She stopped inches from him, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Something earthy and wild that didn't belong in his corporate world. Listen to me, Nate. Her voice was soft but firm. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just me, flawed, damaged, trying to survive in a city that chews people up and spits them out. Whatever you see when you look at me, it's not real. It's just what you want to see, maybe he admitted. Or maybe you don't see yourself clearly. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Rachel's name appeared on the screen like a bad omen. Don't answer it, Sophia said. But Nathaniel was already swiping to accept the call. Nathaniel, darling, just calling to confirm you're still coming tomorrow. You are bringing someone, aren't you? Her voice dripped with false sweetness, the kind that made his skin crawl. I'll be there. With a date? With someone special. Rachel's laugh was like breaking glass. How wonderful. I can't wait to meet her. I do hope she's prepared for the evening. Chicago society can be so ruthless to outsiders. She'll be fine. I'm sure she will. Jonathan and I have a special announcement planned. Something that will make the evening truly memorable. Her pause was calculated. See you tomorrow, Nathaniel. Don't be late. The line went dead. Sophia watched him pocket his phone, her expression unreadable. She sounds delightful. She's a viper in designer clothing. And you loved her once. It wasn't a question, but Nathaniel answered anyway. I loved who I thought she was. Turned out I was in love with a carefully constructed lie. Sounds familiar, Sophia murmured, so quietly he almost missed it. What do you mean? She turned away, moving to the window where the afternoon sun painted her in gold. Nothing. Just thinking about my own carefully constructed lies? Sophia. My mother died 6 months ago. Words came out flat, emotionless. Cancer. I spent everything I had trying to save her. The medical bills, the experimental treatments, the round-the-clock care. None of it mattered. She died anyway, and now I'm drowning in debt I'll never be able to repay. Nathaniel's heart clenched. Is that why you agreed to do this? For the money? Partly. She turned to face him, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. But mostly because when you sat down on that bench, you looked how I feel every single day. Lost. Alone. Pretending to be okay when everything inside is screaming. He crossed the room before he could stop himself, his hands finding her shoulders. I'm sorry about your mother. Don't. She pulled away, wiping at her eyes angrily. Don't pity me. That's not what this is. We're not friends having a moment. We're business partners with a transaction to complete. Her words stung, but he understood them. Walls existed for a reason. His were just as high as hers. You're right, he said quietly. Tomorrow night, we play our parts. Nothing more. Nothing more, she echoed. But as they stood in her small apartment, the setting sun painting everything in shades of amber and gold, Nathaniel couldn't shake the feeling that they were both lying. To each other. To themselves. About what tomorrow night would really mean. Sophia's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and her entire body went rigid. The color drained from her face. What's wrong? Nathaniel asked. She looked up at him, and the fear in her eyes made his blood run cold. I can't do this, she whispered. I'm sorry, Nate, but I can't go with you tomorrow. Why? What happened? I just can't. Please leave, Sophia. Talk to me. Get out. The words exploded from her, raw and desperate. Get out before I ruin everything. Nathaniel stood frozen, watching this woman he'd known for 3 days fall apart before his eyes. Every instinct screamed at him to stay, to fight, to demand answers. But the terror in her eyes stopped him cold. He picked up the garment bag and walked to the door. At the threshold, he turned back. Whatever you're afraid of, you don't have to face it alone. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. I do. The door closed between them with the finality of a coffin lid. Nathaniel stood in the hallway, his heart hammering against his ribs. Through the thin door, he heard Sophia collapse into sobs that sounded like they were being torn from her chest. He pulled out his phone and made a call to his head of security. Marcus, I need you to run a background check. Name is Sophia. Lives in Logan Square. I'm sending you the address. I need everything by morning. Understood, sir. Nathaniel ended the call and pressed his palm against the door. Feeling the vibrations of Sophia's crying on the other side, whatever secrets she was hiding, he would find them. And tomorrow night, whether she wanted him to or not, he would protect her from whatever had put that fear in her eyes. The revelation Nathaniel didn't sleep that night. At 4 a.m., Marcus's encrypted file arrived in his inbox. What he read made his blood turn to ice. Sophia Chen, 28 years old. Former Juilliard scholarship student who dropped out to care for her dying mother. No criminal record. No outstanding warrants. But buried in the financial records was something that made his hands shake. Loan. $200,000 borrowed from a private lending company called Apex Capital Group. Interest rate 40%. Terms brutal. Collateral. None specified. Nathaniel knew Apex. Every businessman in Chicago knew Apex. They were vultures dressed in suits, preying on desperate people with nowhere else to turn. And they had connections to some very dangerous people. The loan was 6 months overdue. His phone rang at 6 a.m., unknown number. Mr. Rhodes, my name is David Chen. I'm Sophia's brother. Nathaniel sat up straight. She never mentioned she had a brother. It's because I'm the reason she's in this mess. David's voice was tight with guilt. I need to meet with you now. It's about tomorrow night. They met at a diner on the south side, the kind of place where the coffee was strong and the clientele didn't ask questions. David Chen was thin, worn down by something more than time. His hands trembled as he wrapped them around his coffee cup. Sophia took out that loan to pay for our mother's treatment, David said without preamble. But it wasn't enough. So she took out another one. And another. By the time Mom died, Sophia owed Apex $250,000, and they want their money. They want more than money. David's eyes were hollow. They own people, Mr. Rhodes. They own Sophia. And yesterday, they told her exactly what they wanted her to do. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. Tell me, your ex-wife, Rachel Thompson? Her fiancé, Jonathan Pierce. He's Apex's biggest client. He launders money through his real estate holdings. Millions of dollars flowing through Chicago properties, all of it dirty. The feds have been building a case for months. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. They want Sophia to plant something at the party, Nathaniel said. Evidence. Something that will destroy the investigation. David nodded miserably. A thumb drive in Jonathan's study. If she doesn't do it, they'll make her disappear. They've done it before. Rage flooded through Nathaniel's veins, hot and electric. Where is she now? At her apartment, probably trying to figure out how to tell you without getting you killed too. Nathaniel threw money on the table and stood. Stay here. Don't contact her. Don't contact anyone. What are you going to do? Something stupid. He drove through the gray Chicago dawn, his mind racing. By the time he reached Sophia's apartment, he had a plan. It was reckless. Probably illegal. Definitely dangerous. Perfect. He pounded on her door until she opened it, eyes red from crying, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Nate, I told you to leave me alone. He pushed past her into the apartment. I know about Apex. I know about the loan. I know what they want you to do tonight. Sophia's face went white. How did you... ... Doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that you're not doing it. I don't have a choice. Her voice cracked. If I don't plant that drive, they'll kill me. If I do plant it, innocent people go to prison. There's no way out. There's always a way out. Nathaniel grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. I'm going to pay off your debt. All of it. Today. Right now. It's $250,000. I wipe my ass with $250,000, Sophia? It's nothing to me. She jerked away from him, anger flashing in her amber eyes. I'm not a charity case. I won't be another thing you buy to make yourself feel better. This isn't about me feeling better. This is about keeping you alive. Why? She screamed. Why do you care? You don't know me. I'm just some random street musician you picked up in a park because you needed arm candy for your revenge party. Because you're the first real thing I've felt in 2 years. The words exploded from him, raw and desperate. Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human instead of just rich. Because the thought of someone hurting you makes me want to burn this entire city to the ground. The silence after his confession was deafening. Sophia stared at him, her chest heaving, tears streaming down her face. You can't save me, Nate. I'm not some princess in a tower. I'm just a girl who made terrible choices and now has to live with the consequences. Then let me make a terrible choice with you. He pulled out his phone and made a call. The man who answered was someone Nathaniel had sworn he'd never contact again. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Vincent, it's Nathaniel Rhodes. I need a favor. The conversation that followed was conducted in careful code. Both men aware that phones could be tapped and words used as weapons. When it ended, Nathaniel had made a deal that would cost him more than money. It would cost him a piece of his soul. It's done, he said to Sophia. By noon today, Apex will have their money plus interest. Your debt is cleared. You're free. What did you do? Her voice was barely a whisper. Who did you call? Someone who makes Apex look like kindergarten teachers. Nathaniel's smile was bitter. Vincent Caruso, Chicago's most connected fixer. He'll make the debt disappear, but in return, I owe him a favor. Someday, somewhere, he'll come to collect. And when he does, I won't be able to refuse. Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. No, Nate, you can't do that. Do you know what you've just done? I know exactly what I've done. I've traded one cage for another. But at least this way, you get to be free. I'm not worth that kind of sacrifice. He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. You're worth everything. For a moment, they stood frozen, the weight of his words hanging between them like a promise too dangerous to keep. Then Sophia pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. You're an idiot, she said, but there was no heat in it. Only a terrible, aching sadness. Probably. What about tonight? Rachel's party? Nathaniel's expression hardened. We're still going, but not as pretend partners. We're going to expose Jonathan Pierce for exactly what he is. It's insane. He's protected. Powerful. So am I. His smile was sharp and dangerous. And unlike Jonathan, I don't play by the rules when someone threatens what's mine. I'm not yours, Nate. Tonight, you are. Tonight, we walk into that party and we set it on fire, metaphorically speaking. Sophia studied him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. Fear giving way to determination. Resignation transforming into defiance. Okay, she said finally. Let's burn it down. They spent the rest of the day planning, two wounded souls conspiring against the world that had broken them. By the time the sun set, they had a strategy that was equal parts brilliant and suicidal. As Sophia got ready, slipping into the emerald dress one final time, Nathaniel made one last phone call. To Marcus, his head of security, I need you at the Thompson estate tonight, armed, discreet. If anything goes wrong, you get Sophia out, no matter what happens to me. Understood? Sir, perhaps you should reconsider. That's an order, Marcus. He ended the call and turned to find Sophia standing in the doorway, a vision in green and gold. But it was her eyes that held him captive. No longer afraid, no longer broken, fierce, ready to face the wolves, she asked. Ready to become one, he replied. They arrived at Rachel's estate as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. The mansion loomed before them, all glass and steel and old money arrogance. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway. The cream of Chicago society was already gathering inside. Nathaniel took Sophia's hand as they approached the entrance. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was strong. Whatever happens in there, he said quietly, I want you to know something. What? Meeting you was the best mistake I ever made.
Oh.
She squeezed his hand. Same, Nate. Same. The doors opened. Music and laughter spilled out into the evening air. They stepped inside together, two beautiful, damaged people walking into the belly of the beast. Rachel appeared within moments, resplendent in white designer perfection. Her smile was all teeth and venom. Nathaniel, you came. And this must be your date. Her eyes raked over Sophia with cruel assessment. How charming. I don't believe we've met. Sophia Chen, Sophia said, her voice cool and confident. And you must be the ex-wife I've heard so much about. Nate didn't mention how young you looked. What's your secret? Good genes or good surgeon? The entire entrance hall went silent. Rachel's smile froze on her face, her eyes glittering with barely contained rage. How delightful. You brought a comedian. I brought the woman I love, Nathaniel said clearly, loudly, so everyone could hear. The rest of you can choke on your champagne about it.
Oh.
Sophia's head whipped toward him, shock written across her features. But before she could speak, a man approached. Tall, silver-haired, with the kind of face that graced magazine covers and political campaigns. Jonathan Pierce. And the look in his eyes when he saw Sophia told Nathaniel everything he needed to know. Pierce recognized her, which meant Apex had already been in contact with him, which meant tonight was about to get a lot more dangerous than they'd planned. The BTRAL Jonathan Pierce's smile was politician perfect as he extended his hand to Nathaniel. But his eyes never left Sophia's face. Nathaniel Rhodes. I've heard so much about you. Rachel speaks of you often. I'm sure she does. Nathaniel's grip was firm, bordering on aggressive. Congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you.
And who is this enchanting creature? Jonathan turned his full attention to Sophia, and Nathaniel felt her tense beside him. Sophia Chen, Nate's girlfriend. Something flickered across Jonathan's face. Recognition, calculation, threat. Chen, interesting name. Do I know you from somewhere? I don't think so. Sophia replied smoothly. I'm not really part of your world. No, Jonathan said quietly, his smile sharpening. I suppose you're not. Rachel appeared at his elbow, looping her arm through his possessively. Darling, we should make our announcement soon. Everyone's waiting, of course, my love. Jonathan pressed a kiss to her temple, but his eyes stayed locked on Sophia. Enjoy the party, Nathaniel. I'm sure it will be a night none of us forget. They drifted away into the crowd, leaving Nathaniel and Sophia standing in the glittering entrance hall. He knows, Sophia whispered. He knows who I am. Then we move faster than planned. Nathaniel guided her deeper into the party, his hand at the small of her back. Marcus is positioned outside Pierce's study. When I give the signal, we go in. What are we looking for? Evidence. financial records, anything that ties him to Apex and the money laundering. My contact at the FBI is already in position to receive whatever we find. They moved through the party like dancers in a choreographed performance. Sophia was magnetic, drawing attention without trying. Men stared. Women whispered. And Rachel watched from across the room with barely concealed fury. You're enjoying this? Sophia murmured as they accepted champagne from a passing server. Watching Rachel realize you're everything she's not? Absolutely. That's not why I'm here, Nate. I know. But it's a nice bonus. An hour into the party, Jonathan and Rachel took their position at the grand staircase. The crowd quieted as Jonathan raised his glass. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate our love. Rachel and I are thrilled to announce that we'll be married in the spring here in Chicago, surrounded by all of you. His smile was camera-ready. But that's not the only announcement we have. Rachel's hand moved to her stomach in a gesture so theatrical it made Nathaniel's teeth ache. We're expecting, she said, her voice trembling with false emotion. A baby. Due in 6 months. The crowd erupted in applause and congratulations. Nathaniel felt Sophia's hand find his, squeezing gently. Are you okay? She whispered. Fine, he lied. But he wasn't fine. Because for just a moment he saw the future he'd once imagined. The life he'd planned with Rachel, children, legacy, a family built on something more than money, and ambition. All of it ashes now, Nate. Sophia's voice pulled him back to reality. We need to move. Security's changing shifts in 5 minutes. They slipped away from the celebration, moving through the mansion's corridors with careful precision. Nathaniel's knowledge of the layout from his married years paid off. They reached Pierce's study without being spotted. Marcus stood guard at the door, his expression grim. Sir, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Pierce's security team just did a sweep. The study's locked down tighter than before. New cameras. Motion sensors. Someone tipped them off. Sophia and Nathaniel exchanged glances. We find another way, Nathaniel said. There's always another way. But before they could retreat, the sound of voices approaching made them freeze. Pierce and 2 men in expensive suits turned the corner, heading straight toward them. Well, Jonathan said, his smile venomous. What do we have here? Lost, Nathaniel. Just looking for the restroom? The restrooms are on the opposite side of the house. But you already knew that, didn't you? Jonathan's eyes moved to Marcus, then back to Nathaniel. You're here to steal from me. In my own home. At my engagement party. I'm here to expose you for the criminal you are. Jonathan laughed, but there was no humor in it. You have no idea what you've stumbled into. No idea who you're dealing with? Apex Capital Group? Money laundering. Federal investigation. Nathaniel stepped forward. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Do you? Jonathan's smile turned cold. Because it seems to me you're making assumptions based on incomplete information. He snapped his fingers. The 2 men flanking him moved with military precision, blocking the corridor. Let me clarify something for you, Nathaniel. Apex doesn't work for me. I work for them, and so does someone you trust very, very much. Nathaniel's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Jonathan's eyes shifted to Marcus. Why don't you tell him, Marcus? Or should I? The world tilted sideways. Marcus wouldn't meet Nathaniel's eyes. Sir, I can explain. Explain what? Nathaniel's voice was deadly quiet. Explain how you've been feeding information to these people. Explain how you betrayed me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, Marcus said, his face pale. They approached me 6 months ago. Said they had photos of my daughter. Compromising photos. They threatened to destroy her life if I didn't cooperate. Sophia grabbed Nathaniel's arm. Nate, we need to leave now. But Jonathan stepped forward, blocking their path. No one's leaving. Not until we come to an understanding. You see, Nathaniel, your little fake girlfriend here was supposed to plant evidence tonight. Evidence that would have destroyed a federal investigation and saved me a considerable amount of trouble. He turned to Sophia. But then you got cold feet. Called your brother. Started having second thoughts. So I had to accelerate my timeline. You son of a bitch, Sophia hissed. I'm solving a problem. You owe Apex money you can't repay. Nathaniel here just cost me a very important transaction by involving Vincent Caruso. And Marcus needs his daughter's reputation protected. We all have something to lose. Jonathan pulled out his phone, showing them a video. Sophia's face appeared on the screen, entering the mansion 2 hours earlier through a service entrance. Planting something in Jonathan's study? What is that? Nathaniel demanded. Insurance, Jonathan said. Evidence of corporate espionage. Stolen financial records from your company, Nathaniel, now conveniently located in my private files? If you go to the authorities, I release this video. Sophia goes to prison for breaking and entering in corporate theft. Your company's reputation is destroyed, and Marcus's daughter's photos go viral. That's not me, Sophia said, but her voice shook. I was never here earlier. Doesn't matter what's true. Only matters what I can prove. Jonathan's smile was triumphant. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of here tonight? You're going to forget everything you think you know about me and Apex. And in return, I'll forget I ever caught you trying to rob me. And if we refuse? Nathaniel's hands clenched into fists. Then everyone loses. Your fake relationship becomes a real scandal. Sophia goes to prison. Marcus's family is destroyed. And Rachel gets to watch you lose everything, which honestly, she'll enjoy immensely. The corridor felt like it was closing in, the walls pressing against Nathaniel's chest until he couldn't breathe. He'd been so arrogant, so certain he could control the situation. But he'd underestimated everyone. Pierce, Apex, even his own security chief. There's one thing you forgot, Sophia said suddenly, her voice steady and clear. Jonathan raised an eyebrow. What's that? People like you always assume people like me have something to lose. She pulled something from her clutch. A small recording device. But I lost everything 6 months ago when my mother died. You can't threaten someone with nothing left to burn. She hit play. Jonathan's voice filled the corridor, crystal clear. Every word of his confession. Every threat. Every admission of guilt. He recorded this, Jonathan said, his face going pale. You're wearing a wire. Not a wire. Just a phone in my purse, recording since we walked in. Sophia's smile was sharp as broken glass, and it's already been uploaded to 3 separate cloud servers with time-stamped authentication. If anything happens to me, or Nate, or Marcus's daughter, it automatically sends to the FBI the Chicago Tribune. In every major news network in the country, the silence that followed was profound. Then Jonathan lunged. Everything happened at once. Jonathan's hands went for Sophia's throat. Nathaniel threw himself between them, catching Pierce's weight. Marcus moved, but not fast enough. One of Pierce's security guards grabbed Sophia, yanking her backward. The recording device clattered to the floor. Get her out. Nathaniel shouted to Marcus. For one terrible moment, Marcus hesitated. Then something shifted in his expression. Shame. Regret. A desperate need for redemption. He moved like lightning, dropping Pierce's guard with a precise strike to the throat. Grabbed Sophia's hand. Go now. They ran. Nathaniel stayed behind, holding Jonathan back as alarms began to wail through the mansion. In the distance, he heard Rachel's voice screaming, heard the party descending into chaos. You've destroyed everything, Jonathan snarled, his hands around Nathaniel's collar. No, Nathaniel replied, his smile cold and victorious. I destroyed you. There's a difference. He broke free and ran, following the path Marcus and Sophia had taken. Behind him, he heard Pierce shouting orders, security mobilizing. But Nathaniel knew this house, knew every secret passage and hidden exit from the years he'd lived here with Rachel. He burst out a side door into the cold October night, finding Marcus and Sophia waiting by his car. Drive, Marcus shouted. Nathaniel didn't need to be told twice. They peeled out of the estate as security flooded the grounds, tires screeching against asphalt. In the rearview mirror, Nathaniel saw Pierce standing at the entrance, his face twisted with rage. They didn't speak until they were miles away, the mansion disappearing behind them. Is it really uploaded? Nathaniel asked finally. Sophia nodded, her hands shaking. Everything. every word. Vincent Caruso made sure it was untraceable and authenticated. When did you plan this? This afternoon, while you were making calls. I called Vincent myself. Made my own deal. Nathaniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What kind of deal? She was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. The kind where I work for him now. Just like you do. We're both owned, Nate. Both trapped. But at least Pierce is going down with us. The weight of her words settled over the car like a funeral shroud. They'd won. But the price of victory was their freedom. Where are we going? Marcus asked from the back seat. Nathaniel looked at Sophia, really looked at her. Her makeup was smeared. Her dress was torn at the shoulder, but her eyes were clear and fierce and unbroken. Somewhere they can't find us, he said. At least for tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow, we figure out how to live with what we've done. Sophia reached across the console, taking his hand. Her fingers were cold but steady. Together? She asked. Together, he promised. Behind them, sirens began to wail in the distance. The FBI moving in on Pierce, the carefully constructed world of Chicago's elite beginning to crumble. But in that car, with Sophia's hand in his, Nathaniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, not peace, but something close enough to hope. That it almost felt the same. The RACKONANG 3 months later. Winter gripped Chicago with frozen fingers. Nathaniel stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his new office, smaller than before, in a building that didn't bear his name. The empire he'd spent years building had been dismantled piece by piece. Sold off to pay debts both legal and otherwise. Vincent Caruso had collected his favor. And then another. And another bought behind him, the door opened. He didn't need to turn around to know it was Sophia. He'd memorized the sound of her footsteps, the rhythm of her breathing. The way she moved through space like music made flesh. The final transfer went through, she said quietly. Your company's officially dissolved. Assets redistributed. You're officially just another millionaire now, instead of a billionaire. How does it feel? Lighter than I expected. She joined him at the window, close, but not touching. They'd been living in the same apartment for 2 months, sleeping in separate rooms, orbiting each other like binary stars afraid of collision. Pierce got 15 years, she said. Rachel's facing charges as an accessory. Her baby turned out to be a lie. Just another manipulation. I saw the news. Marcus's daughter is safe. He's working for Caruso full-time now. Says he's grateful for the chance to make amends. We're all working for Caruso now. The bitterness in his voice made her flinch. Nate, don't. He turned to face her finally. Don't tell me it was worth it. Don't tell me we did the right thing. We destroyed Pierce, but we destroyed ourselves in the process. We're alive, Sophia countered. We're free. That's more than most people get. Are we free? His laugh was harsh. You owe Caruso 10 years of service. I owe him favors he can call in at any time. That's not freedom, Sophia. That's a prettier cage. Then why are you still here? Her voice rose, frustration bleeding through. Why haven't you run? You've got enough money left to disappear. Start over somewhere else. Be someone new, because of you, he said simply. Because somehow in the middle of this nightmare, you became the only real thing in my life. The confession hung between them like a held breath. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. You can't love me, Nate. I'm the reason your life fell apart. No, you're the reason I have a life worth living. He crossed the space between them, his hands cupping her face with a gentleness that belied the desperation in his eyes. I was dead before I met you, walking around in an expensive suit, pretending to be alive. You made me feel again, made me care again, even if it meant losing everything else. I'm broken, she whispered, damaged. I'll never be whole enough to deserve someone like you. Then we'll be broken together. He kissed her, and it was like coming home to a place he'd never been. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. Years of loneliness and pain and desperate need pouring into a single moment of connection. When they finally broke apart, Both breathless, Sophia rested her forehead against his. "I have something to tell you," she said. "Something I should have said weeks ago." "What?" "That recording I made at the party, the one that brought Pierce down." She pulled back, meeting his eyes. "It wasn't the only recording I made." Nathaniel's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I recorded everything. Every conversation with Caruso, every deal we made, every favor he asked for. All of it documented, authenticated, and stored somewhere he can't reach." "Sophia, what did you do?" "Insurance." Her smile was sad and fierce. "Caruso thinks he owns us. But if he ever crosses a line, if he ever threatens you or Marcus or anyone we care about, I have enough evidence to send him to prison for the rest of his life. That's insane. If he finds out, he'll kill you." "He won't find out. Unless he gives me a reason to use it." She took his hands in hers. "You sacrificed your freedom for me. Nate, the least I could do was make sure that sacrifice meant something." Nathaniel stared at this woman who had walked into his life as a convenient solution to a social problem and somehow become the axis his entire world rotated around.
"Sure."
"Terrifying," he said finally. "I know." Smile turned genuine. "But I'm your terrifying person. If you'll have me, I've had you since the moment you agreed to this insane plan." He pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair. "I just didn't know it yet." They stood like that for a long time. Two people who had lost everything and found each other in the wreckage. "What do we do now?" Sophia asked. "We live," Nathaniel replied. "We work for Caruso when he calls. We build something new with what's left. We figure out how to be happy in the spaces between obligations. Can people like us be happy? I don't know. But I'd like to find out." Sophia pulled back, looking up at him with those amber eyes that had first captured him in Grant Park a lifetime ago. "I love you, Nate. I should have said it before, but I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that if I said it out loud, the universe would take you away. It seems to take everyone I love." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, gentle and reverent. "I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Promise?" "Promise." 6 months later, on a spring evening that smelled of rain and possibility, Nathaniel found himself back in Grant Park. But this time, he wasn't alone. Sophia sat on the same bench where he'd first heard her sing. Guitar in her lap, a small crowd gathered around. She performed once a week now, refusing to give up the part of herself that made her feel alive. Nathaniel stood at the edge of the crowd, letting her transform ordinary people's evenings with her music. She caught his eye mid-song and smiled, that luminous, dangerous smile that still made his heart race. When the song ended and the crowd dispersed, she came to him, guitar case slung over her shoulder. "Ready to go home?" she asked always. They walked through the park hand in hand, two people who had been broken and remade in fire. They worked for Caruso when he called. They lived modest lives in a modest apartment. They had nothing compared to what Nathaniel once possessed, but they had each other. And somehow, possibly, that was enough. "Do you ever regret it?" Sophia asked as they reached the park's edge. "Approaching me that night, setting all of this in motion?" Nathaniel thought about Rachel's cruel invitation, about Pierce's corruption, about the empire he'd lost and the freedom he'd sacrificed, about the man he'd been and the man he'd become. "Not for a second," he said, "because some cages were worth inhabiting if they meant keeping the right people close, and some gambles were worth taking, even when you knew the house always won. In the end, love wasn't about having everything. It was about finding someone who made nothing feel like more than enough." They disappeared into the Chicago evening, two shadows becoming one, two damaged souls finding grace in the spaces between light and dark. And somewhere in the city, in offices and penthouses and back rooms where deals were made, the world continued turning, but for Nathaniel and Sophia, walking through the gathering dusk with fingers intertwined, the world had become very small and very simple. Just two people, two hearts, one impossible, reckless, beautiful choice to keep choosing each other. Again and again and again. The end.